My name is Jacob Atella, and my topic is the steps in buying a car and finding out which one is the right for you. So, really, people don't go out and ask questions when they want to buy a car. They just kind of go out there and they have this on their mind, like, oh, I really want to buy this car. But they don't think about it, whether or not it's for work or it's for personal use, that's pretty easy. But to figure out the in between details, what kind of engine, like all the details, people don't really think about it. They just kind of go out and they buy it and then they regret it. You always come into this situation where you buy a car but you didn't take the steps to figure out whether or not it was smart. You just kind of do it. So I'm gonna try and do my best to give all the research I put together out there and explain the proper steps. So you got to ask questions when you're buying a car, and usually you don't ask questions for a new car. Like you do, but it's new, so you don't have to worry about the usage of it. But when you go in and you're buying a used car, you need to ask, how long have you owned the car? If the person recently purchased the vehicle, they're already selling it. So you gotta ask, like, are there any problems? That just something that little matters. But how long have you owned the car? You gotta also ask, who did you buy it from? If the person bought it from another person and there were issues but they didn't know about it, they're selling it, you'll know. You need to find out. So you gotta ask, how long have you owned the car? Who did you buy the vehicle from? Because you don't know what happened before they even had the car. So you need to know, where did you get it from and was it okay? And you need that information. Where did you purchase the vehicle from? That also matters. Not who, but where. Did you get it from a dealership? Did you get it from a used dealership? Did you get it from one of those little auto shops where they've got 10 cars sitting out? You got to know where it came from, or off of Craigslist or eBay, stuff like that. You got to know if it was sold off the street. All those you need to know. What's the condition? You can see it clearly when you're there, what's on the outside, but they always can say something and it just throws you off. So if there's any issues that they've had in the past, you're not going to see it because you're obviously not running it. So you need to run it, but you need to also ask what the condition of it. How much mileage is on the car? That's a big thing. A lot of people, they don't want to buy cars because they've got a lot of mileage on it, but it really depends on the engine, and that goes into the questions that if oh, it's got 40,000 miles on it, I don't want to buy it, that's too many, I want something less. If it's a big engine and that car's engine can last until 300,000 miles, if it's a good deal, you need to know, that's not bad. You just need to know what's been going on while it's been driven 40,000 miles. But, you ask them how much the mileage is on the car. You got to ask the person, do you have information on it? Like a packet about its usage, the history of its the usage. They got to have information on paper. They can't just be telling you. If they're just telling you, they can lie. So you can't just go off of what they're saying. You got to ask them for information. Now, other things is did it have regular oil changes? Was the maintenance done? If they have the receipts, you want to see them. You want to validate that this happened, because they can also tell you, hey, we got our oil changes done ahead of time, but they actually didn't. They're just telling you. So if they have those receipts, you want to know. You want to see them. Has anything ever been replaced or updated? Has the car had any recalls, or has it been okay? Stuff like that. You got to ask that. So newer recent updates, they could increase the value of the vehicle, and you need to know, is it worth it? So you need to know if something's been new, then you obviously know, all right, they put new wheels on it, they put new tires, they added a new infotainment system, stuff like that. You got to know, all right, that ups the value, but at least you know it's there, it's worth it. Are there any mechanical problems that you need to know about? You need to ask them, look up the type of car that you're looking at. So you type in the make, the model, the year, everything, down to the VIN, and you try and see what kind of issues that car from that year really came into, and you ask the seller, have you had any of these issues, or are there things that you ran into, obstacles, stuff like that? And you'll know if there's any current, problems with the car. That'll cost money because obviously if there's problems, you're going to have to fix them. What's the service that it's had? Meaning from a dealership. So, even though you're buying it from wherever you're buying it, they could have taken it. You need to have all of the copies of the services and all that. You got to know what's been going on. Depending on who you're getting it from is going to depend whether or not you can really drive the vehicle. Some people might be weird and say no, you can't and you shouldn't really be buying it, but you should drive the vehicle for 30 minutes. You should have as much time as you want so you can evaluate it. You need to have the engine sitting long enough to know it's okay. You need to make sure it runs. You make sure you like the way it sits and feels. You got to make sure it suits your lifestyle. Because if it doesn't, well, what's the point? And if they're hesitant, invite them. Bring them with you on the ride, and they'll probably appreciate it. And they'll see that you're actually trying to invest this time and money to it. You want to ask them, can I take the car for an independent inspection? Because it's important that you keep your eye close on what could be wrong that they're not telling you. So if they tell you, hey, yeah, you can take this to get it inspected, that should tell you, all right, well then they're not worried, so you shouldn't be worried either. If they're gonna let you take this, then all right, things should be okay, and if not, I'll figure it out. If there's any problems, you gotta figure out if that's going to be fixed before you buy it, or if that's something you're going to have to fix after you buy it. So really determining, are they going to put out the money to fix it and then you can buy it, or are you going to have to buy it knowing that it needs that thing fixed, and are you going to spend the money to pay for it? Alright, so the questions you should ask about yourself are is this car right for you? You don't want to just buy anything because it's a good deal. Because, yeah, you can get that really nice sports car for cheaper than you wanted to spend on the truck, but is it worth it if you're going to buy it, make these payments, and be like, damn, why did I get into that? I can't use it for work. I can't use it to carry stuff. You're running into problems where a simple nightstand you want to move to your buddy's house becomes an issue because you have a small car. So if you need to understand that if you're going to be bringing stuff or taking stuff, lugging stuff, you like going on road trips, you like taking trips, you can't do that out of a two-door car. It's going to be difficult unless you have a trailer. So you need to think what kind of lifestyle you live really determines on what kind of car you want to have. So it really comes into truck or an SUV or a coupe or a sedan. And then when you figure that out, you got to figure out, do you want a gas car, do you want a diesel, or do you want an electric? I think when you're buying a car, it is very important to ask these kind of questions. I think that, asking these questions makes the person that's selling it understand this person really wants to buy it. If you just kind of roll up and you're like, oh, this is nice, it's a good deal, let me buy it right now, sign the contract, that's it. It's like you didn't really put the time and energy into thinking, and then hours fly by, you got the car, it's in your name, and it's like, oh, was it worth it? So you got to ask these questions, and I think that it's important to know, how long the person owned it, where did they get it from, what kind of issues it's had, or maybe what kind of issues it might have. You never know. So you got to ask and know what the condition is, all of that, and I think that plays a huge part, because if not, if you don't know, you're going to run into the problem where you didn't know. And then now you have this car and it's like running into these problems left and right, putting all this money out you didn't know. Now it's not worth it. You're overpaying for it. But you have to factor in, you go to this dealership, you get all the questions asked, and then you say, I want a truck. I want a truck because I'm going to haul a boat. So I need a truck with a big engine, but I need to know everything that's happened. Or you say, I want a sports car because I want a sports car to take to shows and make performance upgrades and do all the fun stuff that you might want to do. So I think it's very important when you're buying a car to ask those kind of questions. I don't think that anyone should be going and just signing a document. I also don't think you should ask for help, because let's be honest, when you're there, they're trying to sell you something, which means they might not give you the full spiel that you want to know. They might give you the rundown that looks all shiny and pretty, but on the inside, it's not. You might actually have a bad deal, but they're just trying to give you a good one. So if you ask these questions, you pressure them into really, you want it. You want it. You want it. And you can't take the stuff they're going to throw your way. You come strong, you ask these questions, and you're going to find yourself a good deal because you've asked the questions. You made sure all of the areas that could mess up, if you didn't, they're covered. You've asked everything you possibly can ask. So I think it's important to know that, because everyone's buying a car at some point. Everyone's going to upgrade at some point. So you need to know what you're going to ask when you're buying it. That's all I got for you, but I got my citations from Carfax, actually, and usatoday.com. So I used Carfax because it is one of the most popular used cars dealers and information centers, I guess. And USA Today was another link. It was I used it because it had some information on, you check a lot of stuff out that I had stated. So those are the sites I used, and I hope you enjoyed my talk about buying a car, and I hope that if you actually use these questions, I hope that it helps you, because it's important.